Hi, everybody. I'm Kate Kunkel, the founder of Brain Health Matters, which is a series of courses, programs, and videos just like this. And everything here is designed to help you become healthier so your brain can become happier and stronger. And one of the ways to nurture a healthier brain is with a whole foods vegan diet. And all this month of January, in honor of Veganuary, I've invited experts on the show, each of whom can offer a unique perspective on this lifestyle. Today's guest has a perspective I never really considered before, but I'm very excited to share it with you. Geoff Palmer is a 59-year-old, 37-year vegan who is a natural bodybuilding champion. Who knew there was such a thing? He's also an author, national lecturer, and vegan patent holder. We'll have to ask him about this. Creator and owner of Clean Machine Plant-Based Fitness Nutrition. Wow, that's a mouthful. Geoff was selected number 40 of the top 100 most influential vegans. I'm very honored you took your time to come with us, Geoff, by Plant-Based News, and co-created the first 100% vegan bodybuilding championship. So, Geoff, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, so please tell me about this championship for vegan bodybuilders. I mean, I've followed lots of champion vegan bodybuilders, but I didn't know there was one just for vegans.
Yeah, so I had worked with different groups like Plant Built, Giacomo Marchesi and Danny Taylor. They had put together a group called Plant Built, which is like over 40 different vegan athletes that would go to different natural bodybuilding competitions and compete as a group to really make a profound effect, saying, hey, here we are, and this is what we're doing. We're on stage, we're sharing the stage with you. And I thought that was amazing. And I think there's still a very important place for that, and we should do it as well. But I wanted to just show what only and completely, entirely based competition, only showing completely drug-free, natural vegans and what that looks like. And it was very powerful when we put out the finished video of this and people seeing it, they said, everybody in this is vegan? And I'm like, yes. I think it made a very bold statement. And now later we had movies like Game Changers came out, which I think really shook up the world too as well, and showing really what you can accomplish on a completely plant-based diet and totally drug-free, more about health and fitness and less about, drug use for bodybuilding sake and aesthetics only.
Yeah. The pumped up look is fine, but if you're not healthy, being all pumped up, that's kind of defeating the purpose, right?
Indeed.
So I have to ask you this for my grandson, because I have a 9-year-old grandson, and he just cannot understand how Oma, he calls me Oma because I'm German, Oma, how can Oma be strong when she doesn't eat meat? It just cannot go. So please, Geoff, to my grandson, Logan, can you explain how you can be so strong without eating meat?
Yeah, you should introduce him to Popeye. Let him watch what Popeye eats. Popeye eats spinach, and why? We actually now know in science that there is a phytochemical that actually is in spinach that upregulates the uptake of a protein into muscle tissue, so it actually increases muscle. So Popeye was actually spot on before 50 years later, before the science proved that he was right. But no, the bottom line is all muscle is made from essential amino acids, right? That's what makes up all proteins in our body. All essential amino acids on this planet are created by plants, and there's a few microbes, few bacteria that can actually generate essential amino acids on their own too as well. But that's not what we eat. We eat food either from plants or animals. Well, so where do all the animals get their protein? Well, they all get it one way or another from plants, either by eating another animal that ate plants or by eating the plants themselves. So every animal, humans and every animal on this planet, every single protein that's in here Every single essential amino acid that makes up every protein in our body originated in plants or some bacteria. In our microbiome, we break down some bacteria in our gut and recycle the proteins there too. So it contributes to a little bit of it, but the vast majority comes through our diet. And that's how every animal is allowed to exist. If plants don't exist on this planet, animals don't exist on this planet. It's that simple, because the plants not only make all the essential amino acids, they make all the essential fats. A lot of people think that fish oil is where we get our omega-3s. Well, no, fish don't make essential fats either. They eat them, and they eat them from algae. So all the essential fatty acids that you're getting are actually coming from sea algae or plants. So all of the essential amino acids and essential fats come from plants. They originate in plants. Animals cannot make them. They do not make them. What we're doing is just feeding them to the animal, then killing the animal, and then stealing its plant nutrients. That's not fair. It's not economical. It's horrible for the environment. It's not cost effective. It's extremely wasteful. Up to 40 pounds of grain to yield 1 pound of meat. That's an extraordinary amount of waste. It's not sustainable in a population with 10 billion people on this planet. It's horrible with 2.7 trillion animals being killed for food, 35% of which are just thrown out. This is a horrible, horrible system that we're in, and it has to stop.
Oh, I cannot agree with you more. When you just said about all the animals being killed and wasted, I live here by the ocean, and my heart breaks because I see the trawlers out there with their nets, and they just scoop up everything. And I see them in the market, and I know that much of that fish is never going to be consumed. It's going to be thrown out because, firstly, they don't have refrigeration, but even if they did, it's too much. It's wasted, and so much of all animal products. I want to go back a little bit to the idea of the process that takes us. So I talk a lot about brain health, obviously, and I'm concerned myself about B12. I do take supplements. I take shots every 3 weeks or so, depending. And because I know that I'm having trouble getting it. But people say, well, it's because you're vegan. No, it's not because I'm vegan. I'd like you to explain to folks why that is, because you can do it much better than I can.
Yeah. So B12 is a necessary vitamin that is made by bacteria. A lot of people think B12 comes from animals. It does not. Animals cannot. It is impossible for any animal on this planet to make B12. It is made by bacteria. Now, the animals can eat the bacteria and then have B12 in them. So yes, it can be found in it, but so can plants. Actually, there are some plants that uptake the bacteria into the root system because the bacteria have a symbiotic relationship with the plant. The plant pulls in micronutrients, the bacteria then break them down and make them bioavailable for the plant. And then the plant actually takes some amino acids and glucose and sends it down to its root system to feed the bacteria. The little nodules in the root systems of the plant. So you can actually eat the plant in its root system and get the B12. This would be normally what we do. There's bacteria in the soil. We'd be getting some of that on our food and be consuming it. And remember, the needs for B12 are minuscule, measured in micrograms, which is 1,000th of a milligram. So 2.4 micrograms. This is an infinitesimally small amount. Normally, we would get this. There's dirt that settles on the outsides of fruit, and we would normally eat it in nature. Of course, we wash all our fruit. We wash all of our root vegetables. We wash everything, and this rinses away and washes away. B12 is actually found in very small amounts in live water, but we process all our water. We detoxify, we cleanse it, we sterilize it, we do it, and this wipes out all the B12 there. So it's not present in the air that we breathe. It's not present in the soil anymore because we've wiped out the soil from the bacteria. It's not present on our food anymore. It's not present in our water more. Well, if human intervention has knocked out all the B12 in all our natural forms of intake, well, then of course we need to get it through a supplementation. No, you do not have to eat animal products in order to get B12. You can take a supplement for it.
Yeah, I thank you so much. What a beautiful explanation, because yeah, people think, well, the animals are going to eat the dirt or whatever, and that's how the B12. That's what I've heard people explain. But the bottom line, if it's not there, if it's not in the soil, if the bacteria is not in the soil, because we've killed it with glyphosate and all the other stuff, if the bacteria isn't there, we can't make what makes the B12, right? So that's the end of the story. Probably nobody's getting it naturally. Let's go back to, I mean, you're so passionate about this. Is it the passion for health or the passion for animals? Because they're both coming through so strong. What made you decide to become a vegan 37 years ago?
Yeah, so I tragically lost my father to alcoholism, my mother to multiple sclerosis, and my brother to mental illness, all within a short period. And it really crushed me, and it sent me into a very dark place. And I struggled with suicidal depression, attempting to take my life a couple times. And I just met someone who was really happy, and I said, teach me how to do that. I want to be happy. I want to feel what it is to be happy again. And she said, let me take you to a friend of mine. He's a Native American healer. And he talked me back in through my pain. And I had such an intense breakthrough experience that I was doing drugs, doing alcohol, smoking, everything, eating meat. I was on a suicidal path. One way or another, something was hopefully going to stop the pain. And I feel that's what a lot of suicide is about, whether we're doing the slow suicide of alcohol or drug use or eating animal products. It's slow suicide. It is killing us. It's just taking longer. Whether we're doing that, it's because there's some reason that we're not happy inside. Because when you're happy, you have reverence for the body that you have. You have reverence for the life that you have. You are enjoying the life. You want it to last longer. When you don't care for your body, it's because you're not enjoying life as much as you could be. And I wasn't. But when I had that breakthrough experience, I just felt so released from my own suffering, mental and emotional suffering, and even physical suffering, that it just was like a 360 change of my entire life. I quit smoking, quit drinking, quit doing drugs, and quit eating all animal products that day.
Wow.
And never turned back.
Wow, that shaman, that Native American healer must have been incredible. He must have been like, wow. So did he not eat animal products?
He actually did. So that was the funny thing, that all he did was talk me back into taking responsibility for my actions. He, was talking with him. I had a struggle with my father, an English professor, very bright, super bright, a human being. My mom was a Jungian psychologist, so I had it from both sides. So I was looking for the answer in my intellect, in my brain. I was looking for a psychological answer of how to be happy, right? And he guided me back to my emotional state and how my choices were affecting the way I felt, and that my feelings were affecting everything I was doing. My connections with friends, my connections with family, my connections with myself, my connections with the world. I didn't want to be here at that point. So when I reconnected to that and retook responsibility, he said just this one phrase: tell me how you created the separation between you and your father, because I was really distraught by losing my father to alcohol. And he said, tell me how you created it. And I kept coming up with the blame of what my father did to create the reason. And he says, no, tell me what you did. And when I kept getting the excuses going away, it was my own anger that was keeping me from loving him. I was blocking my ability to love because I was holding on to resentment and anger towards him. And my heart wanted to love him because I was still thankful for all the gifts that he gave me, but I was blocking all that love emotion. And when I did that, I saw the forgiveness. I said, my father was struggling with life just like I was, and he couldn't find the connection, and it killed him. Wow. I said, I should have empathy for him, not anger at him for abandoning me. He tried, he struggled, and he failed. That should be a gift to me. And when I accepted that in forgiveness, my heart just opened up. I just reconnected with my father and loved him again. I loved my mother, my relationships all opened up, my connection with the planet, my connection with other animals, it just expanded. It just
Wow.
reconnected me to what I am here and what I'm here for. When I was struggling so much with what do I get out of this world? And I had to turn that around and say, no, you are an amazing person. You have something to give to this world. And when I focused on not what I get out of life, but what I get to give in this life, my joys just skyrocketed. It was such a light bulb moment for me to say, oh, I'm here to give love to people. And that's where I'm going to get my joy from, not to what I'm expecting to get from people. It's
Wow,
just
Geoff,
such a turnaround of life.
that is, and that, if nothing else, if people take nothing else away from this recording, this meeting today, to think about what you can give. Yeah. And this vegan lifestyle that you've nurtured and adopted over these years, I truly believe, I just wrote a book called The Vegan Brain. And in the book, I talk about the mental, emotional, physical, but also the spiritual aspect of this course, this lifestyle. Because when you're not taking a life or exploiting an animal for its byproducts, for lack of a better word, that's a connection, a spiritual connection. And that has been, for me, over the last 3 or 4 years, probably the most important part of this. I feel that because spiritual health is so important for brain health. I mean, they're all important, but it's kind of where it starts. And when I'm listening to you talk about the importance of looking at what you can give, that's our soul talking.
Indeed. And it's amazing. There's a through thread in it all, that it is psychological, it is emotional, it is physical. I mean, I'm the benefactor of amazing amounts of strength because have a passion behind it.
Right.
It affects every part of our life. It was amazing. I was traveling all over the world. I traveled to 48 different countries, just learning from different cultures, how they learn to find breakthroughs in spiritual practices and things like this. I was at a Native American tribal ceremony where we did a sweat lodge. And I was experiencing this outpouring of sweat, physical sweat, right? And immediately following that was this outpouring of emotions, and the tears just ran. And then this outpouring of freedom of thoughts and connections. And then in just that higher level, that more energetic or spiritual level of connection. But I realized at that moment that, wait a minute, you can take one aspect of your life, whether it be physical or emotional or mental, and you can shift it. You can create a movement with it. And the rest of the wholeness of ourselves, our mental, emotional, psychological, and spiritual, will move with it. Yeah. And that's why I said, all right, well, then let's try to get some movement out of people, because I feel like, just like myself back 37 years ago, I was stuck so much that I didn't even want to carry on with life. So, but when I caught that movement, the rest of me just shifted with it. So I said, okay, what is it that people do on a normal day-to-day basis? One, they eat every day, many times, and we move, right? Those are two basic things that are health, exercise and good nutrition. So I said, all right, well, let's start there. If I can get people to improve their nutrition and get a shift, that their body will feel that, their emotions will feel that, their mind will feel that. When I was in college, I was studying biopsychology, which is more the whole body's physiology, not just neurochemistry. And I was looking at, okay, what are some of these chemicals that inhibit our ability to be happy? Serotonin inhibitors, right? Serotonins are major mood elevator along with dopamine. And I was like, oh, what is this chemical that is inhibiting the neurotransmitter serotonin from actually firing in the brain? And I looked it up, and it was a chemical that is released by animals when they are in fear. Well, this makes a whole lot of sense, because when you scare an animal, it has to fear. So it reduces its serotonin levels, because serotonin gives us a calm and peaceful, right? And happy. We need fear to escalate so that the brain works on high cortisol and work fast to get them out of the fear, out of the threat of death. But so it inhibits the serotonin, it blocks the serotonin. So when we cause the animal to struggle for its life, it's releasing tons of these neurochemicals into the flesh. Then we eat this flesh and this chemical goes on. Now, it's not the same chemical as our own, but it's mimetic. It imitates the chemical, and our brain falsely thinks that we're under duress, we're under stress, and it inhibits our ability to be happy. So consuming an animal actually biochemically, physically in our brain inhibits our ability to be happy. We're taking on the sadness, the fear, the threat of life when we consume that animal.
Oh, I believe that 100%. Yes, absolutely. And besides the neurotransmitter, the chemical aspect, I believe is also an energetic, because that is coming along with it. The fear, the terror, it's energetic, and energy doesn't go away. It just transmutes. So that's going to go into the product that ultimately ends up in your body and affecting your brain. Well, I want to go on a little bit about healthy and strong, because a lot of people are under the impression that you can't be strong if you're not ingesting the flesh of animals or the protein from animals. But there is a difference between healthy, strong. So you can be strong if you're eating animals, I suppose. But there's a difference between healthy strong and unhealthy strong. And it also includes it, because you were talking about weightlifting and bodybuilding without drugs and so forth. So let's talk a little bit about the difference there, how you can be strong and not healthy.
Yeah, so obviously using supraphysiological amounts of hormones can force the body to do things that it normally would not do in its normal capacity. This is how the bodybuilders, the monster bodybuilders you see on there, that is the human body will not do that. We have inhibitors to prevent that from happening because it's not healthy. When you are carrying that much muscle, your body is using up more energy than you should naturally be consuming. We know that the less calories you consume, the longer you live. That calorie restriction extends life not only in humans, but every single species that we've tested so far. So consuming less is healthier, does promote longevity. Consuming more actually reduces it, because it's more taxation on the systems. It's more wear and tear. It is more waste product generated. Just like if you put your foot on the gas pedal, more exhaust comes out. Well, that exhaust is inside of our body, and it means we have to remove all that waste product even more so. And our body has systems to remove this waste product at normal levels. Once you get into supraphysiological levels, it can't keep up, and it starts to fail. And that's the problem with it. And it's basic physiology, but we have people out there. And that's why I named my company Clean Machine. This is an incredible machine that we're born into. And if we keep it clean and free of these things that don't belong in our body, and I talk about that, most people say, oh, animal products are better. They're not, they're actually worse. So let's take protein, for example. Protein has an amino acid profile. That's what I got my patent in. I know you were going to ask me about that.
Yes.
So my patent was in the amino acid profile of human muscle tissue. So we looked at the different amino acid amounts of human muscle tissue and what we require, and it almost exactly imitates what we get in our plant foods. It's interesting that there's this myth that plant proteins are incomplete, right? And it's because they have lower amounts of certain amino acids. So there's two in particular that really pop out. They're called sulfur amino acids, methionine and cysteine. And for those of you watching this video, I want you to Google something, because it's very eye-opening when you do. Google methionine-dependent cancer. So most of the major cancer killers, breast cancer, prostate cancer, pancreatic cancer, lung cancer, the #1 cancer killer, are all methionine dependent. Means those cancer cells depend on methionine as a food source. We know that if you put that cancer in a petri dish and you remove the methionine, they all die. 100% of them die. We know how to kill cancer cells. It's just reduce your methionine levels. Well, what are plant proteins lower in? Methionine and cysteine, right? And animal proteins are high in methionine. So the more animal proteins that you consume, the higher your methionine, the more you are feeding cancer cell creation and cancer cell growth. And it's that growth that causes to metastasize. And that's what 90% of people who die from cancer die from. So you're either feeding cancer cell growth or you're starving them by eating plants. So it's not that plants are too low in methionine, it's that animal proteins are too high in methionine and cysteine. Methionine and cysteine are interchangeable, but the problem with cysteine is cysteine can convert to homocysteine. That scratches up the interior of our arteries, can cause stroke, can cause heart attack. These are the top killers of people: cancer, stroke, heart attack, all because of the amino acids that are higher in animal proteins than plant proteins.
And that's why vegans then
are
have
far better.
So that's why so many vegans have why vegans, generally speaking, have a lower rate of cancer than omnivores. That makes sense.
Heme iron. They used to think heme iron was so much better because it was so absorbable. We now know heme iron directly causes colon cancer.
Yes.
That is the #1 dietary induced cancer killer of Americans in the United States. And it's because of the heme iron that's in blood of animals. Our body can take plant-based iron and it's bound to phytic acid, so it won't oxidize. It won't create nitrosamines that are cancer causing. It can't because it's bound to a phytonutrient. Our body then separates that phytic acid, and that phytic acid can go and actually destroy and kill cancer cells. So you have something that causes cancer in heme iron protein and something that prevents and reverses cancer in plant iron protein. And it's the kind that our body can use as it needs it. Instead, the heme iron is already pre-converted. Same with omega-3s. A lot of people think, oh, fish oil is better because it's EPA and DHA. EPA and DHA are not even essential amino acids. They're only 2 essential fatty acids. That's ALA, which is from plants, and LA, which is the omega-6, which is also from plants. Those are the only 2 we actually need for the human body. The others our body can make.
So we can get those. We can get those from like flax and chia and that sort of thing.
Correct. And I actually found a plant called ahi flower that is the highest in ALA and SDA of any plant in the world. Actually, when you combine the omega-3 and 6, it's the highest of any plant in the world. And that's
so is that in your Clean Machine product? Or do you have that?
It is, yes. So ahi flower is an extraordinary source of omega-3. It's a land-based plant, grows in the UK, and it is richer in ALA and SDA, which are the first 2 precursors. We convert in a chain all the way down to DHA, and our body converts it. Now, we used to think, the scientific community used to think that ALA doesn't convert to DHA very well. But new research has shown that it does. And as a matter of fact, we have so much from that, we really don't need to worry too much about it.
Wow. Wow. Incredible. I'm sorry, Geoff. I have to close this off. I hate to do it.
All right.
But I do want to talk about your product because it's important for people to understand. As any kind, when we're doing any diet, we might have trouble getting the nutrients that we really need, whether that's vegan or whatever. But, and I supplement, I know, because I don't have time all the time to get the things that I need, and I might not anyway. You have a product that can help us not only get the things that we need for ongoing just survival, but that can actually help us become healthier, correct? Tell us a little bit about what that would be for us.
Yeah, so what I did is look for the best plants in nature that is not typically consumed by people, and make them available for more people. So I did that with the #1 superfood on the planet is called duckweed. The commercial name for it is lentine. It is the highest in nutrient density of any plant known. It's the highest in essential amino acids, higher in branch chains than soy even. So it is the top superfood on the planet, and the highest in its total essential amino acids as well. So great macronutrients. Then I found ahi flower, which is the richest source of omega-3. I found a plant that is a cactus flower that helps regulate our hormones up to 8 to 10 times more effective than anything on the market. Even in 2 published human studies shown to reduce prostate issues up to 80%.
Wow.
And these plants were just not available until I brought them to market. We won the Nexty Award, which is the top award in the United States for supplements, twice for these amazing plants. So
Awesome.
that's what I'm trying to do, is just trying to bring these. And this latest D3, all the D3s on the market are either from animals, but this one's from vegan. And it's the first organic 100% pure vitamin D3 ever created.
Oh, awesome. So now you have a special offer for our viewers here. So please share with them. And I'll make sure we have links to everything in the show notes and everything. But tell us what you've kindly offered for our viewers.
Yes, so you can use the code on our website. We're in a promotion right now. So if you're watching this immediately, we're in a promotion. But during non-promotion months, you can use the code Plant Fitness. And use that code, just type that in, and that will give you 15% off your entire order anytime you can use it.
Oh, thanks so much, Geoff. I have to say, you have been so inspiring, and I feel that anybody who consumes animal products after this just wasn't listening. Because you've offered us so much helpful information, and folks, this is science. Geoff's not just talking off the top of his head. He's spent a lot of time, and I'm sure a lot of money and energy researching and understanding so that he can share this with us. And your happiness, Geoff, just shines through. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Geoff Palmer, so much for the most amazing program. I really appreciate your dedication, your joy, and your information. And for those of you who watched right to the end, thank you so much. After I stopped the Facebook and after we stopped the main recording, Geoff gave me some information about the tau proteins and tangles that are a big part of what causes the cognitive decline from Alzheimer's disease. So I'm going to create another little video just for that, but I wanted to let you know that we will have a bonus video coming out later on today after this one, and we will share that information with you. I think it's very important for everybody who is concerned about your brain health to get the other information that Geoff offered. In the meantime, it's me, Kate Kunkel, the creator of Brain Health Matters and the author of The Vegan Brain and the Plant Lover's Fast Start Guide. I'm very happy that you were able to join us for this edition of Brain Health Matters with Geoff Palmer.